Hi, I'm David Saville. I'm a life coach and I train life coaches to have far more impact and to create unique businesses that their clients love to be part of. I have a range of services called Becoming Superhuman, which are a series of immersive events, online courses and live adventures designed to transform you into the superhuman version of yourself, where you can handle anything, create anything and choose to be powerful. I also want to raise global standards, training leaders to do meaningful work and to do what's right. Leaders of companies, leaders of countries, rippling throughout the world, creating a future generation of children who embrace risk, naturally help others, and seek to live lives that mean something. Welcome to Becoming Superhuman. So what do you have to say that's worth sharing? What do I have to say? What does any of us have to say? Everything that can be said has been said, surely. There are experts, right? People in the same field as you have been doing this much longer. Surely they can articulate these ideas better than you can. You want to step forward as an emerging entrepreneur, coach, and whatever it is that you do. What could you possibly have to offer? You know, it's saturated. The world is saturated and overfilled with people and their opinions. Why the hell should you step forward and say anything? This is so common. You know, this comes up. Most of my clients are life coaches or entrepreneurs or people that run companies and those kind of people, right? And they all of us have these kinds of thoughts that go through our mind that hold us back, that stop us actually doing these things. In fact, one of the things that I find, I'm getting very excited, I'm speaking quick, are you noticing that? One of the things I find most that just stops people creating the success in their life, in their business that they want, is this. It is the being scared to share. Being scared to share because of how it's perceived, because it might sound like something else, because I don't even know what to share. Because this is the other thing. You may have experienced something yourself. You may know it inside. Very different when you come to articulate it. Very different once it comes out of your mouth and hits someone else's ear, or if it's on video or on your stage, or however it is you share. It's a very different thing. And so it's a natural part of the process to resist, to hold back. Because if we go back, you know, when would we have been stepping in front of people and stepping forwards back in, you know, ancient times, right? When would that have been? Most likely when we're excluded from things, we've been a part of it, unless we are the leader in the group or one of the few leaders, which are a very tiny minority. Remember, small, tiny tribes, right? We would have come from. So millions of years we're talking about, not the recent history. We often get confused thinking because for the past few hundreds or thousands of years we've lived a certain way, that surely our physiology and everything would have evolved with it. No, it hasn't. It's nowhere near there. We are like dumb animals with this intelligent thing on top that screws everything up. And so we need to navigate that. So naturally, when we step forwards, we get terrified. These things come up. It can affect the way we speak. We can trip up our words. We can actually not speak whatsoever. One of my favourite songs actually is by Eminem, Lose Yourself. And I saw the movie recently, 8 Mile, which I've resisted seeing for years just because everyone was talking about it. But I actually bothered to watch it recently. And actually, although the movie was fair, it was a decent movie, actually encapsulated within that song was a lot of things. There's a scene in the beginning of the movie actually where he's there and he's like been pumped up as this amazing like rapper, and he steps forward and he's there and he's looking at the crowd. They're kind of a hungry, like ruthless crowd really, and he's there and he can't do it. He's waiting for the beat and you can see him and of course he waits a bit too long and suddenly he loses his chance, right? He's, you know, I think it's like 90 seconds. 90 seconds just times out. And that's it. He said not a word. So then, of course, he has to go through the shame of that, runs off and all of that stuff, all that stuff he embodies. But it's a beautiful, visceral, experience that most of us go through if we are stepping forwards in that way. If we are choosing to not be someone who disappears into the background, if we are choosing to create a business, a career, a future, even if we're just stepping forwards within somewhere that we're working, if we choose to have our opinion heard, even in a group actually, group of friends, you know, you're out with a group of friends and having a debate and it's like, are you letting your voice be heard? Are you risking sounding stupid? Are you risking getting it wrong? And all of these things that can get in the way. And they get in the way of connection, they get in the way of your contribution, and they get in the way of your ability to get better at this stuff as well. Because by articulating and by sharing and by having it screw up and by people to criticize us, actually, we then have to get a lot better. In fact, one of my clients was saying, that he was having an interaction with someone. That, like when he was out with he's living in this new place, creating this entire career in a different country. So he's trying to make friendship groups, and he was in a friend of a friend he was chatting to, and he was just grilling him. And then afterwards was very critical actually about him for no real reason, except he wasn't really being himself. He didn't really enable himself to be present in that moment as best as he could, which we explored, which is going to upgrade for next time. But we have to be willing to step forwards continuously and to have people think whatever they think about us. Because the truth is, it's like people think all kinds of stuff, and most of it's got nothing to do with us anyway. You know, most of it's to do with whatever's going on in their mind. When someone's looking at you, don't assume they're even thinking about you at all. Most people are thinking about 100 things, and you are like bottom of the list, even if they're staring directly at you. I don't know if you ever had this experience when you're out, when someone says, "What are you looking at?" Like I used to get that growing up in the area that I grew up in. Not that it was a particularly rough area, but there were rough parts of it that was quite dangerous in certain areas. So there would be a point where I'd walk through and there'd be kids who were like 5-10 years older than me asking me what I'm staring at. Now the truth was, I didn't even see them. I was just thinking, and my eyes must have somehow met their gaze. You know, like when eyes are there, you're drawn to eyes, aren't you? We're drawn to eyes. But I wasn't aware that was happening, and yet I was almost going to get into a fight or beaten up by these older kids just because my eyes wandered into someone else's. You know, it's ludicrous, really. So it's like, don't even assume that you know what someone's thinking either when they look at you. Funny, yeah, again, as a speaker, this comes up a lot. For those of you who are watching this as speakers, you'll know this. You're on the stage and you're sharing something, and then you see someone's face. It looks like they're going to kill you. They look like they're falling asleep. They look like you've just horrified them. You get all these reactions on people's faces because people's faces don't often reflect what's going on inside, unfortunately. Because I think a lot of the reason is because we live in a world where we're not connected to our emotions, that actually we are so good at shutting down our expressions from exposing what we're actually going on, that most people have a real disconnect actually. And often what seems like anger, what seems like boredom, what seems like horror is just someone thinking face. They're actually taking it in, because a lot of the time, some of the people I thought hated what I was sharing are the ones that have come up afterwards thanking me so much, and even messaged me later saying what meaning something I'd shared had for them. Even like, in fact, one regular attendee to a workshop, she used to shut her eyes and put her head in the air like this. And that, you know, at the time, of course, at times it was challenging. But again, someone who would take a lot from it, you know, thinking deeply, receiving it. It's just the way she needed to process it. So it makes sense as to why we hold back. And this is something that I say to the life coaches that I train or that I consult with as well. So this is pretty much across the board, really. Even the ones who have been doing it for a few years tend to get this wrong. You need to speak with your own voice consistently. So a lot of the problem, and you'll see this if you know life coaches, you are a life coach yourself, you may even have done this like I have. You see, someone else has shared something, you're like, wow, it's amazing. And then you try and you may not be able to put it into your own words exactly, so you just share that thing. You see quotes going around all the time on Facebook, right, or Instagram, or wherever you're watching this, right? And the truth is, it's just you don't yet know how to articulate what that meant to you. And so don't share it. Don't share something you can't articulate. Don't share something without meaning. I mean, if you're going to share it, which is fine to share the origins of it and to put it up. In fact, I did one recently that Oscar Wilde wrote, and I wrote a post about the meaning of that to me. About few people in this world ever get to possess their souls before they die. Their opinions are someone else's. You know, it's not exact quotes paraphrasing, but that's what he's talking about. And it's like, because we grow up with these ideas being put into us, you know, because we absorb as a child. Then as we grow up, we then try to fit in, and so we won't say certain things and we'll say others. So by the time we get to adulthood and we're growing through, we are big kids still, by the way. So that's another thing. There's no inner child. We are the children, just to be very clear. So we're these big kids, and we've got all these habits of like holding back and being scared and seeking approval and all this stuff. And then we step forwards and we're like, right, I'm going to create a better life. I'm going to create a career that is mine, where I'm creating for me and my family and my future. It's wonderful. It's bloody terrifying, because all that conditioning, all those things that we learnt to survive and get through our childhood, no longer function. They become very, very dysfunctional with regards to creating a life and successful career and future and family and friends as well. You're going to create bad relationships like I have, right? Every bad relationship I've had is because I wasn't being honest and truthful and I was holding back. I was trying to fit in to something, which meant I accepted things I shouldn't have. I was with someone I shouldn't have been with each time that happened. It's the same principle. Not saying what I truly believe or what truly matters to me in that moment. Not being willing to be rejected to risk that. It's dire consequences. So the work I do with entrepreneurs, with life coaches and all this stuff, even though a lot of the focus is on the career, it's essential for family life, for partners, for children. You know, it's for all of us. It's the same mechanisms at play. It is saying what you feel is correct for you and expressing it in your own words. It's vital. I felt like I went on a little bit of a rant there. I was getting quite emotional about that because it's really important. So, before I go into something else actually, for those of you who are liking this and want to take a step towards becoming superhuman, you can go to my website, which is becomingsuperhuman.co.uk. You can download a free audio session there where you can learn how to transform your relationship to fear and create a daily, well, it's up to you if you do it daily, but a practice to step into the superhuman version of yourself, which if you actually do it, if you actually embody the process, you'll find yourself better able to step up and do these things, better able to share honestly, better able to step forwards and be creative in your unique way. So I strongly recommend you do that if that inspires you to. Now, when it comes to this, you know, being scared to share, perfect example of the fear, but then the benefits of this is a client recently, one of the coach clients. So she'd never done a talk before, but she had this opportunity to do this talk in front of a small group. And during it, it's like, you know, when it comes to this stuff, especially when it comes to a talk and you've never done one, it's like 10, 15 minutes. It's like, it can seem like an immense amount of time to be speaking and everyone else silent and watching you. So we were exploring what to do and where to. Of course, it's scary, but as with all of my clients, actually, she's scared and willing to challenge herself and willing to grow and develop. So we were exploring what to do, like a basic structure of how to put it together, which is quite useful. And then, of course, the most important part is what are you going to share that's of meaning? What are you going to share that's important to you, that's made a difference in your life? So that's what she came up with herself. It's like she picked a moment in her life, something that's of meaning and was transformative value. And then she didn't do a lot of rehearsal, but rehearsed and practiced it to a degree to get it prepared for her. And when she came to do it, it's incredible. I think it was a room of about 20, I believe. And she shared honestly, she shared in a way that was flowing as it could be. And she was sharing something that had happened to her that contained within it a lesson potential for someone listening. Now you never know when you're sharing these things what the impact's going to be. And the way you find out is by the response. So out of that room of about 20, I think it was, 5 came up to her afterwards and said, "Thank you so much. It was like you were speaking to me. I needed to hear this," and things like that. 5 of them, right? A quarter of the room. Now, that's a high number to do that. And also to bother to come up to her. That's something. That's something meaningful. That means she's hit it correctly there. And that's how you find these things out. By someone going that far to bother to actually share that and to share something about themselves of why it made a difference. That's deeply meaningful. And her first ever one, right? That was her first result. Amazing. You know, it's why she wants to be. She could be a rock star at this if she chooses to be. But we all have our versions of that. We can all do that. Now, the other thing is that 5 people bothered to come up. There'll be others that would have felt the impact, but wouldn't have taken that step. Either they're too scared to, or maybe they just didn't want to queue up, they needed to get home, whatever it may be. So that's the other beautiful thing. So I know 5 definitely, and we know there'll be more too. And so this is it. It's like, why should you, what do you have to say that's worth sharing? Anything that is true and meaningful to you. Because you're taking in, okay, let me slow down a moment. And then people talk about this, and it can seem trite, but this is important. There's not a single human being on the planet who has lived life the way you have, from birth to this moment. Not a single human being. No one will ever live your life in the way that you've lived it. It's not possible. because of the subtleties of your experience, of the things that you will see and experience, and the moments of emotional vulnerability that you had in a certain moment. Even if you're twins, even if you've got seemingly the same upbringing, you'll be very different. And so the truth is, you are unique, and everything about you is unique. Well, not everything about you is unique, but everything about you, if you articulate from yourself, will be a unique way. Even if it seems similar to what others are saying, there'll be subtleties to the way that you communicate, different to anybody else. So it's irrelevant if someone's been speaking for decades and what they have, they're very articulate and they have millions of followers, and you look up to them because they're your idol perhaps, or someone who's a role model, or someone who you think, okay, that person's got this sorted. If you compare yourself on those levels, of course, you're going to see a disparity, right? The connection won't be there. But forget that. If you think, wow, that person shared that single quote, like I did on Oscar Wilde, right? I wrote that hundreds of years ago, and I shared a single quote that stood out for me, and then explored the depths with which it had meaning for me and reverberated through my life. Not a human being on the planet has shared in that way and had that exact relationship to that. And so that's going to be meaningful. It's one of my most popular posts on my Facebook page, actually, because of that. It's the one that's most shared, most liked, and all this kind of stuff, right? Why is that? Because I'm sharing something that was said better by him, much better. He's far more articulate than I will ever be. And yet I shared it from a place of depth and meaning. And you can too. So it's more about that, really. You know, when it comes to what do you have to share that say it's worth sharing, make sure it's with meaning. And if you say it with meaning, like you're inside of it, then it will mean something to someone. And actually that came up today on one of our calls, actually, with the coaches I was training. What we were saying was they had this, I caught them actually at the beginning of the call. So it's a wonderful thing when I come on just a minute later or something, they're in the middle of a conversation. So there's this little thing of just like, how are you doing, and a very short answer, right? And so my initial thing I think was, that's a terrible answer, actually. But then I found out they'd already had that conversation. So then it was a terrible question. Because what that was, it was ordinary communication, which had no depth and had no meaning and had no individuality to it. And this is the problem. You know, this is what you'll experience. And what that does is it slips us into unconsciousness. Okay, I've realised I'm going off at a tangent there. That's a video for another day. Okay, I think we're going to have to leave it right there, I believe. Yes, okay, I think I've summed up this perfectly. What do you have to say that's worth sharing? Anything that you have that has depth and meaning for you personally. Anything that is your experience that is unique to you. And this is a practice thing, by the way. You'll get much better at it if you actually practice this. Practice this in your conversations. Practice this in your Facebook posts or LinkedIn or Instagram or Snapchat, wherever the hell you hang out. Practice this in every moment you can. Be inside of whatever it is you're sharing. And then what you have to say is actually worth listening to. Even if you get it wrong sometimes, even if you need to, you get it wrong and someone has to teach you something, who cares? Then you learn something better, and then you learn how to articulate something of deeper meaning, and it changes your own experience. So go forth, share what's unique to you. It's very important, actually, because the ripples of this means if you do this, the people you communicate, the more of them will have to do that. You'll find yourself also reducing your attention from those who don't. Because why would you bother spending time with someone who all they're doing is spouting out catchphrases, like other people's words, whether they're just agreeing with you, like I used to. I used to just agree with people all the time because why? I was too scared not to. So if I disagreed, I'd be silent. If I agreed, I'd say something, which means my presence was meaningless. There's no point me being there if you don't disagree in some way or have an interesting discussion that's unique to you. So all these reasons, go and do this. It's really important, actually, I think for the future of your life, but the future of the world as well. It's damn important. So yes, the responsibility with great word power is great responsibility. Go forth and do this. Now, if you want to take a step towards becoming superhuman yourself, the life you're leading is good, but you want something that's beyond extraordinary. We want to find out what abilities you could extract from yourself that makes every part of your life better. Go to becomingsuperhuman.co.uk and take a step by downloading the audio recording where you can transform your relationship to fear, or begin to actually, learn how to is more accurate, and then actually learn a superhuman process that you can begin doing immediately to improve and upgrade the things that you're doing. Thank you very much for being here. If you do have any comments or questions, please post them. I will come back to them. Or you could message me as well if you've got something of meaning or you want to take a step towards that superhuman work. Thank you very much for being here, and I will see you next time. Take care.